Hello and a big welcome back to Canada Top to Bottom. Now today we're talking study permits and in particular things to avoid when applying to study in Canada. Before we start, if you enjoy our videos, don't forget to hit subscribe.
Now, applying to study in Canada might sound simple, just apply for a permit. But don't be fooled, it is a complex and highly involved process which can become extremely stressful. Canada is one of the most difficult countries to get a study permit for as their approval regulations are so rigorous. Statistics show that approximately 30% of applications are rejected by the Canadian Embassy each year, which is a shockingly high number. You can absolutely do an application yourself without the help of a professional, and whilst many people are successful, on the flip side of that, a lot of people then get a refusal and end up seeking the help of an immigration consultant to redo their application.
Applying to study is not the same as applying for permanent residence in Canada. If you meet the eligibility requirements for PR, permanent residency, and get invited to apply, unless you've lied on your application, you are unlikely to be refused. However, a study permit is a whole different ballgame, and the decision as to whether you will be granted one is solely at the discretion of the visa officer who reviews it, and, unfortunately, often down to the artificial intelligence which gets assigned to your case. Refusal rates are extremely high, and quite understandably, a lot of these refusals are simply because the applicant didn't know what was required of them.
We have a whole video dedicated to how to apply for a study permit, so check it out for more detailed step-by-step info. But we know how miserable a refusal letter can be, so today we're going to talk you through some of the common mistakes made by applicants and the things to consider when putting together an application to study in Canada.
Let's start with one of the three most common reasons for refusal: proof of funds. When you are applying to study in Canada, you need to show that you have enough money to pay for not only your tuition fees, but also your living expenses and your travel to and from Canada. And this should not just be the bare minimum. If you need to show $30,000 and you show $30,000, you are very unlikely to be approved. You need to show that you are more than capable of covering your expenses, plus a little contingency. Basically, the more the better.
The other thing to bear in mind for proof of funds is that IRCC need to not only see the money, but where the money came from. If there are large, unexplained deposits in your bank account, you will be scrutinised. If you say you're being sponsored by an uncle, but there's no proof of your relationship with this uncle, you will be refused. If you say all the money came from your earnings, but employment records show that you earn a very low wage and couldn't possibly have saved this much money, you will be questioned. Do you see where we're going with this? Everything will be scrutinised and everything needs to be explained down to the smallest bank transaction.
The second most common reason for refusal is a lack of a clear study plan. This is one of the most important factors to consider when applying to study abroad. It is not at all like applying to university in your home country. As a prospective student, you need to have a very clear study plan and a clear direction for why you are applying. Why have you chosen this subject? Why this school? Why Canada? How does it relate to what you have done in the past? And most importantly, what are your future goals after completing the program? And how is this program going to help you achieve these goals? If you already have a master's degree and are applying to study a postgraduate diploma, you are perfectly entitled to do this, provided you have a clear reason why and can show how it is different to what you have studied before. This is so important as many a visa has been rejected due to lack of a clear study plan.
On this note, think carefully about the course you're choosing. Maybe you have several years of experience working in HR, so it seems logical that you would come to pursue further studies in the field you have experience in. No, it's quite the opposite. If you already have lots of experience in HR, it will be highly questioned as to why you need further education in this field. However, if you've spent 10 years working in construction and would like to start your own construction firm, then applying to study construction management would be a logical progression. As part of the application process, officers will examine your previous education and your work history. Choosing a course that doesn't match your education or work history or doesn't align with your future goals runs the risk of refusal.
The third most common reason for refusal of a study permit is lack of ties to your home country. A student visa is a temporary visa to stay in Canada and is only intended for a student to complete their studies. Therefore, you need to show in your application that you have very strong ties and a clear intention to return to your home country. These strong ties can include family, employment to return to or increased employment prospects, financial or landed assets, or any community ties. You will need to show as much documentation as possible to support all of these ties. If a visa officer believes that you have very few links to your home country or very strong ties to Canada, they will refuse your application.
So those are the big 3 factors to consider, and here are a few additional pitfalls you should try and avoid when applying to study in Canada. Lack of supporting documents. There is a list of the required documents that you must provide for an application. Missing documents without a proper explanation, or any document not in English or French that has not been officially translated, may also lead to a rejection.
Documents deemed false or inauthentic, unexplained, disorganised, or documents that are illegible. Visa officers are busy and not interested in sifting through piles of disorganised documents. Label everything, make sure they are all clear and, if necessary, notarised, stamped or signed. It's worth noting that submitting false documents is a crime and won't just lead to refusal but could result in a 5-year ban from Canada.
Adhering to deadlines. If you are requesting to extend an application or have been asked for additional documents, you will have a deadline. Make sure you submit on time, because a day late will not be treated kindly and we will simply receive a flat-out refusal.
Finally, failure to disclose previous refusals can be a big problem, and this isn't just previous refusals to Canada, it's any country in the world. It's fine if you were refused a visiting visa to Turkey 8 years ago, or a study permit to the US, but you must disclose it. If you don't, you may be faced with misrepresentation and hit with that 5-year ban. There is a very clear space on the Schedule 1 form which asks for previous refusals. Don't try and avoid things, you have to be honest, because Canada shares a lot of information with countries around the world, and lying will be disastrous. Canada needs to be confident that you are a law-abiding citizen and will not look kindly upon somebody who is trying to hide a previous immigration infraction. If you have a previous overstayed visa, but disclose it and explain it, you're in with a shot.
Okay, so that's all for today. Those are our top tips of the main reasons for study permit refusal and the major pitfalls to avoid. Have you been refused a study visa for Canada? Let us know, and the reasons why. We love to hear your stories, and we love it when you subscribe as well. See you next time.